Welcome to the Buck Stops Here, the first ever podcast from NotInHallOfFame.com. We've been wanting to do this for a long time. We've listened. You've asked for it. We're going to deliver, and we're going to start right from the beginning. When we started this website, this long journey, everything sort of stemmed around the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Probably the most controversial, polarizing, but really the most interesting. And the first list we ever put up was a list of 100 people who we thought should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We've actually seen a lot of them get in, added some more, changed the list based on everything that you said. But one of the things we had a lot of fun doing was debating who was going to get in, or who was going to be nominated, actually. And with one of the people that I've gotten to know throughout the years doing this is a gentleman from Boston, now Chicago. And Evan, you're with me here, and I'm really excited to do this with you.
I'm actually really excited too. This is you're probably the person I've known the longest without ever actually having been in the same room with. So it's exciting to have a conversation this way about something we've been talking about for what has it been 6, 7, 8 years, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I'm a lot better looking audio with the audio than with the video, so it's much better this way. So I think the way we decide,
probably the same here. So.
I think before we start, though, we've got to have a little bit of a wager. Because eventually I am going to come to Chicago. You might come up to the beautiful Canadian Rockies. 6-pack of Canadian beer against a 6-pack of American beer, whoever gets the most right.
Yeah, that sounds like a deal. I love making bets in beer because the worst thing that happens is you give a 6-pack, they keep 5, and you still get a beer. So, if you're going to make a bet, that's the way to do it.
No, that sounds fantastic. I'm going to go with Youngling if I win. Because I can't get that up here.
Yingling?
Yingling. Have I been pronouncing it wrong all this time?
It's possible. It's a Pennsylvania beer, and they don't pronounce anything correctly out there, so who knows? But I still remember the first time I asked one of those when I was in Boston, because it hadn't gotten up there yet, because I counted it for the first time in D.C., and the guy at the bar said, "No, we don't have any Chinese beers."
Now all of a sudden I've got a craving for a Tsingtao or Qingdao. I don't know how to pronounce that one either.
Don't get me in that one. I'm bad enough in English, let alone Chinese. So
nice. So we talked about this before, and I think we agreed that we're going to come up with 20 that we think might be nominated. Mm-hmm. Although, as you sort of pointed out, we don't even know how many they're going to nominate. It changes seemingly from year to year.
Yeah, like the last couple, it's been 20. I'm looking back, like 2009, there are only 9 not nominated. It's like 2008, 7, 8, 9, there are only 9. So who knows?
I'm sure Chic was one of them.
Chic was one of them. Actually, 7 of those 9 are in. The only 2 who aren't are Chic and War from 2009. Ooh. Everybody else is in. From 2008, everyone is in except Chic in Africa, Bombata. In 2007, everyone's in but Chic and Joe Tex. So
nice. Well, we're going to be actually circling back to those two. So again, when we're doing this is not who we want them to get in. That would be a completely different 20. This is who we think they're going to pick. And I remember we sort of had, the first time we did an article about that, and we sort of predicted that. I think I actually beat you by a couple. And you said, well, thank God I don't think like they do, which made my victory very hollow.
Well, I think a couple years later, I pretty much, as far as I can tell, I think I pretty much won the internet because I had 9 of the 15, and I would have had 10, except I couldn't believe they're actually going to nominate Yes, despite of all the things I'd actually seen. And I changed it the last second to Barry White, who I still don't quite understand why he isn't in the hall. So I made up for it with now knowing way too much about a room of people who I'm never going to meet. So we both got that going for us. It's a talent that really doesn't help anybody.
I'm full of talents that are completely worthless. You can ask my wife that, and she'd tell you the same thing.
Yeah. So
all right. So I'll just load this off here. We'll just go to the first hole. I've got a lock, and I said this was a lock last year, and that's Radiohead. And I don't feel bad about being wrong about that last year because something happened in between. I guess something happened on the way to the bar. Radiohead made an announcement. I can't remember when, but before the actual selection, where they said, "Well, if we're going to be inducted, we can't make it anyway because we're going to be performing in, I can't remember what country, but I believe somewhere in South America. And then it made me think, okay, is this
Right.
rock going to now fall apart? And it did. And I'm sort of thinking that this is the perfect band. They fit every criteria. Influential, critically loved, still relevant today, huge fan base.
Yeah, they're one of the few remaining bands that could sell out a 20,000 seat arena. There aren't that many of those left. A lot of ones you could sell out, like the House of Blues, but there aren't that many that could sell out a 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 seat arena at this point. And I think Radiohead could do that pretty much anywhere in the world. And like you said, the thing that happened to Radiohead actually happened going back to Yes. Because when Yes was nominated the first time, I think back in like 14, they had a cruise that they were scheduled to be on. Like it was a Yes cruise where they were there and everybody was going to see them. And it was like right during the thing, and they're like, well, we can't make it. And the rumor at the time was that Yes had been voted in, but they unvoted them in.
Really? I didn't know that.
Because the system is corrupt, and because they wanted somebody to be there. And eventually they had to wait a year as punishment, and then they got in the second time they're nominated. So
there's a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. Radiohead is going to be a lock to be nominated, and if they're nominated, there was enough outcry last year that they didn't get in that I can't imagine them not getting in this year.
So safe to say that's one of your 20, and others safe to say when they had that cruise for Yes, did they do a circle so that it would be a roundabout?
Oh, boo!
Oh, come on.
Yeah, well, I appreciated that.
Oh, I was hoping you would, because like there's
not time is 3:11. It's 3:11, but I don't think we really have to worry about them. So.
Nice. All right, so we agree on that one. I'm going to try to go chronological with my next one here. So starting like right from the beginning, and I'm going to call this the Sister Rosetta Tharpe honorable. Is that a word? Honorable? Memorial?
Honorable. That's the word. That's the word you're looking for.
I'm Canadian. I drink a lot, so we're going to have to run with this.
There's that extra U in there, so you trip over it.
Well, so I've often done that to boot my way. Yes, I'm going with the same theme. Someone who might be nominated but really shouldn't be, and it's not that they shouldn't be inducted. Just why nominate them when you're going to induct them in an early influence? I'm suggesting that they'll pick the Dominoes.
That's a pretty good choice for that. I was thinking about a band like that too. The Dominoes, though, they've been nominated before, like 20 years ago. I think like in '97, and they've appeared once, and that's it. So the Dominoes makes a lot of sense, and then like Sister Rosetta Tharpe, I think Wanda Jackson got in that way too?
Yes.
And there's somebody else. There've been like 2 or 3 of them where they've gotten nominated and then they were just inducted as an early influence. I like the Dominoes. They're not on my list, but the Dominoes are definitely someone that's been on the radar of the old folks on the nominating committee for a while. And that, yeah, I like that as a pick, particularly when the way you're discussing it. So,
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if they pick it, they won't actually be selected that way. And I'm actually going to sort of circle back to something like that recently, or when I'm going as I continue this. So, all right, so that's and I'm sticking with the 50s because there's not a whole lot of artists in the 50s that I think you can make a strong case for that aren't already in, that would be considered a modern candidate. So my third pick that they're going to look at is someone they just recently nominated. And I don't know if you saw that great piece on HBO about Native Americans and music. My third choice is Link Wray.
Yeah, Link Wray has been on my list multiple times before, but my question about that is when little Stevie Van Zandt surprised everybody at the nominating or at the last ceremony that they had inducted like 6 songs into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it just seemed like the bands they didn't think they could get through. It was like Whiter Shade of Pale by Procol Harum has been nominated, and everybody wondered why. But one of those songs was Rumble by Link Wray. And that Link Wray is somebody who would have been on my list, but for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense.
Like you're saying, they pretty much Link Wray is much more than Rumble, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But that's my one pause about Link Wray being one of the ones included. Just because, yeah, when he got up and made that announcement, like everybody was shocked. Nobody had any idea that he was going to do that. It didn't seem like the people up on stage had any idea he was going to do that. So that's my one pause. But Link Ray is definitely deserving and has been nominated multiple times before. So that's just my one concern about Link ever being nominated again. Is just that the inducting of the 6 songs, whatever they were.
So you don't have him then on your list, obviously.
I do not have him on my list at the moment. No.
All right, interesting. All right, so I'm gonna go a decade ahead, and I'm calling this my forgotten 1960s. Procol Harum was nominated before but didn't get in. Same with the Zombies.
Right.
I'm thinking they're not going to go back to that. I'm going a little bit left field. A little bit left field on this one, and maybe just because I listened to their Battle of the Bands album, an underappreciated one. I'm going with the Turtles.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you just got to sort of like call your shot here. So I'm going with that one. Again, not that I think even if they got nominated they'd be selected, but they've tried a couple.
You think no matter how they toss the dice, it has to be for them to get in or get nominated this year? Huh?
It's just a possibility. Bad Brains can get nominated, and I love that band. Don't get me wrong, but it's why not?
Exactly. Why not? Bad Brains is probably in the whole time I've really cared about this has probably been like the second or third most shocking band. I think the one most shocking is probably the JBs.
Yes.
When they got nominated.
Yes, totally.
I alluded to my spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet with 2,300 bands.
Holy.
In this thing, the JBs were not on it. So it took a lot. I was like, who the heck is that? But the Turtles. The Turtles, of course, have the one huge hit, and they're a band that has not been picked yet from the '60s, and there aren't a ton of those left that really seem worthy. So I don't have the Turtles either, but that's a interesting choice.
Yeah, it's just one of my left field ones. So is my next one, although I'm pretty sure they've been nominated before. You're the one with the spreadsheet. I'm not. I'm the one with the beer in my hand. So you can probably tell me if I've got that one right.
I'm actually sadly drinking watermelon craft soda at the moment, so. I don't know, what that says about my rock and roll prowess.
I didn't know that craft and soda could be in the same sentence. So
yeah, it's a Wisconsin thing. So
I thought you were in Illinois.
I am, but we take a trip up to Wisconsin every year, and there's a Wisconsin craft soda brewery called Spuckler up there, Sprucker, that has a Hodag themed watermelon soda. Hodag is a kind of mythological creature that supposedly lives in the lakes up around Wisconsin.
Sounds like Al Bundy going to Wanker County.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
Oh, no, not at all. I love this. So I'm taking another shot here in left field here. I'm going for what I'm calling the country fusion. Every year I pick Graham Parsons, and he was nominated before, and he never gets selected. And I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that the Sir Douglas Quintet were nominated before.
They have been.
Okay, they have. Okay.
Hold on.
That's who I'm going with.
In 2006.
Okay. I'm taking another shot here. There's the baseball bat. There it goes. I'm selecting them as the Country Fusion nominee this year.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I don't have them. I don't have them either. But again, it's a good callback. Graham Parsons, I have thought for years was going to be one of the people coming back, and I actually have Graham Parsons on my list this year.
Okay.
I have no reason. Why Graham Parsons, other than you're right, there's somebody in that sort of category every single year. But yeah, the Sir Douglas Quintet is as good a choice as Graham Parsons because they're both people who've been on the radar before and seem to have fallen off for a long time. But as far as I know, as long as the little Stevie's on there, he's going to get his favorites at least nominated. Whether or not they get through, who knows? But he's at least going to get them nominated.
Every time I see little Stevie, now I can't stop seeing the Sopranos character.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm blanking on his character. Silvio Dante.
Silvio Dante, yes. That show's been off the air for like a decade now, which is weird.
Like another thing I need to make me feel old.
I know. And I'm looking at 40 in January, so...
that's in my rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Although
Anyway.
you posted, we're segueing, but I mentioned this to my wife once. I think you put this on either your Twitter or Facebook, where you had an intern that didn't know how to mail something.
Yeah, she didn't know how to address an envelope.
Yeah, that to me just blew my mind. Like,
And I taught her in just in time because she's like 21 and actually just got engaged. So now she knows how to send out the invitations, which I guess is good. But yeah, she had never addressed an envelope at any point in her life at the age of 20.
of course, the bad thing is she's 21 and got engaged. What the hell is she thinking?
Well, hey,
she got another shot at it at 31.
She figured she knew how to address an envelope. There's nothing more she needed to learn as a single person. So there we go.
Nice. All right. So my next one I'm calling the first time, long time candidate. And where I'm sort of going with that is some of these great classic rock bands you hear all the time. If you're listening just classic rock, which is sort of that great thing to just play in the speedboat, I guess. And I found that like a lot of bands from that era, when they're finally nominated, it's like, all right, we're going to put them in right away on their first nomination. The Moody Blues, for example, Chicago, Rush. I'm going with, and I might be wrong here because I didn't take a prog rock, and usually I do, but this time I'm going with the Doobie Brothers. Oh, hello?
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. I don't know what happened there. I was going to say, no, the Doobies are on my list as well.
Oh, okay.
So if you're looking for a band that has been nominated, because they've gone through a bunch of them now. So sort of the popular bands like the Cars, Cheap Trick. Who else has there been? Steve Miller Band. Well, I guess just Steve Miller got in because the band would have had 475 members. But like a lot of those bands that had just been forgotten for a long time. And the Doobies, I mean, they nominated Steppenwolf last year or 2 years ago.
I forgot that. Yes.
Who's like 15th in line on that list of things. I love Magic Carpet Ride as much as anyone else, but there are a ton of bands that should be in before Steppenwolf, and one of those is definitely the Doobies. And with the relaxing marijuana laws in our country, maybe that's enough now. So you never know.
We could go on and on about politics for that, as we totally have two different leaders, don't we?
I'm sorry?
We definitely have two different leaders, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, yours is melting hearts all over the world, and ours is melting ice caps as fast as you can. So
it might be the line of the night. I love it.
No, not bad for off the top of my head. Anyway.
No, I thought it was pretty good. Very well done. All right, so I've got a pile of these that I'm calling my spaghetti candidates. And what I mean by that is they keep throwing them at the wall, hoping that one of them is going to stick. And they've been nominated before, and they're not necessarily particularly in terms of genre, but just like we'll see some duplications on this, but just ones I think that are a little bit different when it comes to what they're sort of looking at overall, or different in terms of because there's merit to each of them that makes sense why they keep coming up. Maybe they will again. I don't know. So. Jay Giles Band?
Yes, as I said when you put them on your top 100, the third best band from Boston that is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You did say that, yes.
Band. They are an absolutely wonderful band. They are not as good as Boston, and they are not as good as the Pixies. So until Boston, the Pixies, and Jay Giles, as far as the concerned, has to wait. But yes, they, for whatever reason, they love freeze frame, and they've been nominated now 5 times. So there aren't that many bands that have been up 5 times and haven't gotten in.
Do you have them for yours or no?
But other than Chic, the only other group that's been nominated more than them hasn't gotten in is Chuck Willis.
Actually,
so in terms of most nominations, right, and not getting in right now, they're tied for 3rd with Joe Tex. Joe Tex, Jay Giles, Chuck Willis, and Chic are the only ones who've been nominated at least 5 times and not in. So that's a pretty good guess for them to be nominated again.
I forgot to say I'm actually doing this in honor of Sheik, who will not be on this list. Not
Sheik
that
will not be on this list ever again.
Never. And just to verify for those who aren't aware, it's not because they got inducted. They did get inducted, but I wonder, and I actually wrote this, and I said how pathetic it was that they kept nominating them, and I said just give Nile Rodgers I know I'm pronouncing this wrong, the Ahmet Erdogan.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that name either, so
okay.
But it's close enough for me.
Okay,
I know what
great.
you're talking about.
Okay, thank God, because apparently I don't. I just put him in because obviously you're nominating this band not because you think the world of the band, but because it's of your respect for Niall. So just put him in and spare the rest of the group the misery. And
right.
They did. Whether they read what I said or not, I'm sure they didn't. But
I don't know. You are the chairman. So.
Oh shit! Well, I'm not even influential in my own little home, let alone here. But hey, it all works, right? So this is sort of in honor of Sheik, that this whole category, the Spaghettis, because they're not going to be nominated again. You mentioned Joe Tex; he's on my list of the Spaghettis.
Yeah, I can see that too. I don't have Joe Tex. He was last nominated in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
He comes back every few years. So I think we're another couple years away from him showing back up again. He will show up again. I just don't think for the class of 2019.
Oh,
probably 2021, 2020, 2021. We'll see him again. I just don't have him this year. So
okay. I went with someone I called in my Power Females group, and because I find this very interesting. So my other next choice here is Shaka Khan, and I think the real question is, 2 years ago they went Shaka Khan, and then last year it was Shaka Khan with Rufus.
Yeah.
So
Shaka Khan with Rufus has happened twice. Shaka Khan has happened twice. Then Shaka Khan is getting nominated in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
I don't know exactly whether with Rufus or without Rufus, but I agree. She is going to be. They don't nominate that many women, but for whatever reason, they've decided Shaka Khan is towards the top of their list. It's a question of whether she can actually get through the actual voting public or not. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Shaka Khan is on mine as well. So we're up to 4 of mine I've revealed now: Radiohead, Doobie Brothers, Graham Parsons, and Shaka Khan.
Okay, all right. So let's see if this one sort of fits. Another one of my Spaghettis, the Spinners, who sort of represents also too.
The Spinners are on mine too.
Oh, is he? Okay. Or are they? Yeah. Nice, Kirk. Because I've got them sort of representing Philly soul and Motown. I mean, realistically, it's more Philly soul. I've given up sort of on Motown because every time I go with a Motown choice, I always go Mary Wells, and I'm always wrong.
Right. Yeah, Mary Wells should have been in a long time ago. But yeah, the Spinners are an absolutely fabulous group and deserve to be in. And I wholeheartedly agree with them being nominated until they get in.
Do you have them?
It's just enough people just get broken down. I'm sorry?
Do you have them on your list for this year?
Oh yeah, they're on my list.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
They are on my list for this year.
All right, so we're at 5. And this one, it's I'm calling it half spaghetti, half because this is just something that I want, and this probably won't surprise you based on where we have them ranked. I'm in love with Kraftwerk.
With who? I can't hear you.
Kraftwerk.
Oh, Kraftwerk. Yeah, Kraftwerk is on mine as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Although I will say this, what doesn't help them, and this matters because, I mean, at the end of the day, we're dealing with people voting on people. If there's any group that doesn't care and more than Kraftwerk, if they were to get into the Rock Hall, would they care? No. Would they? No. 9. They would not care.
They would not. Is that how you say no in Dutch?
German.
They're from the Netherlands, I thought.
Oh, they're from Germany.
Oh, man, I am very wrong. Okay, can you cut that part? No, keep it in. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's all good.
I always thought they were from Netherlands. I don't know why. Okay.
Must have been their wooden shoes.
It must have been, yeah.
And it's not that, like when you hear that other bands where they say, oh, I don't care if they get in. I've never heard anyone from Kraftwerk ever say that, but I mean, I honestly believe that they don't. If they were to say, they were to come out and say, we don't even know that place exists, I'd actually believe them.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when Gene
Right.
Simmons said that, I didn't really believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been eligible for what 21 years, I think, at this point, 21, 22 years.
Oh God.
And the part of their, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Uh-oh. Okay, there you are. Okay.
Yep.
I was say they've been eligible for 22 years now, and they invented in many ways electronic music, which is a huge part of music these days. So they absolutely deserve to be in. And you're right, they may not show up because they may not even know the Rock Hall exists.
And they probably don't care. And they are.
And they probably don't care.
And if the only criteria that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ever seems to sort of acknowledge is influence, and if you go by influence, you can't top Kraftwerk.
Yeah.
Who's left? You can't.
No, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
Okay. All right. So I my next one is, and I think I don't know if we're gonna agree on this, but I think we're gonna agree that they definitely should be in. I call this my 80s alternative category. And the Cure were nominated, they didn't get in. The Smiths were nominated and they didn't get in. And maybe this is just my own personal thing hoping here. I've got a combination of New Order, Joy Division.
God, I wish. I want them to go in independently, but if we could get them together like the Faces, Small Faces, I am absolutely in favor of it. New Order, they're on my list every year because I presume this has to be the year that they get nominated. But yeah, I actually just have New Order. Mm-hmm. But yeah, New Order / Joy Division is absolutely worthy. They have actually, the first time I used to date a girl from Cleveland, and first time she took me to the Rock Hall, the last exhibit that you saw before you hit the gift shop was actually the New Order Joy Division exhibit. And I was like, oh, this got to mean that, they're going to get in soon, and they just haven't. They've never even been nominated. So I have them on my list as well. I hope someday they get in. I think it's interesting that you brought up the Cure and the Smiths and actually Depeche Mode, because I feel like the three of them are rotating around, and until I figure out which one of those guys gets in, I feel like for some reason New Order and Joy Division are just blocked, even though they shouldn't be, by the fact those other three bands are out there. Yeah, I always feel like there's sometimes bands can't get in until somebody else gets in. Like you couldn't put in Kiss until you got Alice Cooper in, because Kiss was just 5 Alice Coopers, or 4 Alice Coopers.
I never thought of it like that.
Kiss will tell you that they all just wanted to be Alice Cooper.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Kiss also had an issue with, they had a guy in the nominating committee who said as long as he was alive, Kiss would never get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wasn't that the actual, not just in the nominating committee, was that not, who said that?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I know what quote you're saying. I think it was actually Jan Wenner who said that.
It may very well have been, because he's a jerk. Yeah, I actually have New Order as on my list, and I actually, since I've already brought them up, so last year it was Depeche Mode. Mm-hmm. The last 2 years it was Depeche Mode. The year before that was the Smiths for a couple of years, and the Cure was on, I don't know, a while ago now. I just kind of feel like they've had 2 shots with the Smiths. They've had 2 shots with the Cure. I feel like 2 shots with Depeche Mode. I feel like it's the Cure's turn again, going around the circle.
All right, so you got the Cure.
So I have the Cure, since you've already brought them up, as one of my nominees. One of those 3 is eventually going to get in. And once one of them gets in, the others are going to get in too, and New Order is going to get dragged along with it. Mm-hmm. But New Order will be on my list every single year until it happens, because I don't understand how they're not in.
No.
Every year I figure this has to be the year. And then it isn't. So
I've got so up next I got 2 what I call power females.
Okay.
And I think I've given up on Mary Wells, and sure enough, that's probably going to be who's going to be nominated this year. I think they're going to go back to Janet Jackson, which they definitely should. As I'm sure you know, I got a chance to talk with a guy named Mike Litherland, and I got to have him on this. He's the gentleman who put together the Janet Jackson for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing, and he's done it in such a classy way Whereas opposed to a lot of like when Kiss wasn't in. Again, it's not to bash Kiss. I love Kiss. I've probably seen them like I don't know how many times, and I love them. But what Kiss fans can say like, "Oh, it's a joke," and he did it. Mike's doing it in such a classy way, and his Facebook page for induct Janet to the Hall of Fame. I think it's like 20,000 strong.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm pretty sure I'm on that page. So
yeah, I am too. And just after
yeah.
like talking to him a couple times, and just like, and I hope if Janet ever gets in, like maybe gives I don't know, just a shout out to the fans, and he sort of knows it's because he's a big part of that. And I think also too with the recent momentum of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis going into the Songwriting Hall of Fame, that can't hurt for Janet.
Right. Her candidacy's been interesting too because it's been in. I don't know if you've noticed. Last couple of days, it's actually been in the news that Les Moonves, the head of CBS,
yeah, what did he do?
Had basically had been trying to blacklist Janet Jackson ever since the Super Bowl when Timberlake ripped the front of her brassiere and more show than was anticipated. And Timberlake basically gave a tearful apology to Moonves, and he forgave her. And Janet Jackson was like, "It happened. What are you going to do about it? Stuff happens on stage." And he was so incensed, and he was convinced she did it intentionally, and basically tried to blackball her for everything, to the point where they published a book of hers, like in one of the subsidiaries of CBS, and he's like, "How the hell did she get through? Who allowed this to happen?"
Really? No, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, go look it up. Les Moonves was apparently a complete utter vindictive jerk, and everyone's afraid of him. And the people who've been talking about this have been doing it far off the record as possible because they don't want him. One people said, "I don't want him haunting me to the grave and beyond, trying to get even." But yeah, I wondered exactly how much that had to do with Janet not getting in because he's a powerful media figure, and apparently he holds grudges like, I don't know, Schmeagol. Like and I wonder exactly whether that has anything to do with it. I agree with you. Janet Jackson is going to get nominated. I hope she gets in. She deserves to get in. But it's just interesting seeing whether or not people voting for him would be seen as a slap in the face and somehow making enemies of one of the most powerful men in media.
Interesting. No,
so,
I never even would have thought of that.
I wouldn't either, except it came up on my Google feed about 2-3 days ago. So, and then, since I read one article, you know how Google works. I have like 15 articles about it that pop up now.
The funny thing is, like when that Super Bowl happened, I don't even remember that happening. Like I was at a party or not a party. I was watching with like 10 other guys, and then all the wives came down to watch that show, and then we all played poker during halftime. I guess they were watching. Out of the 20 people watching that, none of us noticed it.
Yeah, we noticed at the time because it was a Patriots Panthers Super Bowl. So being a Patriots fan, we were all down there, still gathered around the TV, and noticed it as it happened. I remember thinking like that must have been intentional because she had basically like it looked like a Ninja Star pasty on that breast, for lack of a better description. And I thought it was intentional at the time, but she, because the line was that you're going to have you naked by the end of the song, and then he pulls the shirt, and there we are. But yeah, it's weird that something like that, after all these years, something that she literally had no control over, whether it was done or not, because she's not the one pulling on the outfit. It's kind of amazing that may all these years later still be haunting her. So at least where it comes to this, getting
still
the rock
hasn't recovered in some ways.
Yeah,
and like Tim and JT, like he might get into the hall before her.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Oh, totally. So I have two power females. My second one, and maybe this might be a stretch, but I think there's a case here. One of the other ones I looked at and I didn't go with was like Tracy Chapman. I liked how
another Boston girl.
Yeah, Kate Bush was a possibility here. I went with Alanis, or Sarah McLachlan one was another one. But yeah, I went with Alanis Morissette. as a possibility.
Interesting.
Yeah, and just the strength of that album, though. As a Canadian, though, I remember when that came out, and I don't know if you ever heard her previous album before Jagged Little Pill.
I did not.
You missed nothing. But you ever see? Yeah, no, no, sir, you've missed absolutely nothing. You ever see? It's not a great show. How you met my mother?
Or How I Met Your Mother. Yeah.
Met your mother? Yeah, I met my mother. Whatever. Not my mother, obviously. The Robin Sparkle character is clearly a knockoff of Alanis before she was Alanis.
So Alanis Morissette has some version of "Let's Go to the Mall" out there,
Yes.
and I just haven't seen it yet.
Google after this, and I encourage everyone to do that. YouTube Alanis, never too hot, never too cold, and she was our teeny bop version of Debbie Gibson.
Interesting.
Yeah, with the frosted perm and everything. It reminded me back in my college years. I was in Ottawa, and in Ottawa they have this big winter party called Winterlude, and the Bare Naked Ladies were there as the headliners. And I went to this bar where there was another band, local band. I don't know if you know them, but called The Odds. I don't know how well they did in the States.
The odds I am not aware of.
Okay, so I went to go see them at this alt bar in Ottawa, and I'm looking over there, and there's Stephen Page and Tyler, what I forget his last name, from the Bare Naked Ladies. And at this point, I'm already 15 beers in. Today, I'm only 5 in. And I went up to Stephen. I go because the Bare Naked Ladies were headlining the Winterlude show, and Alanis was opening. I go "Hey man, are you friends with Alanis?" And he looks at me like I'm a total douche, which I kind of was at the time, so I can't really complain about it. But I never ever at that point in my life would have thought Alanis would have been the voice of a generation, which for a couple years she kind of was.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. She was very much a voice of generation. I don't have Alanis on my list. It's Alanis? I just said
Alanis. Yeah.
Alanis. I don't have Alanis on my list because Rock Hall does a pretty terrible job with nominating women.
Oh my God, yes.
And there aren't going to be that many of them on there. And the young woman quotient I have taken by Janet, even though Janet is in her 50s at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the Rock Hall timeline, the Janet is going to be the young woman unless there's somebody else who absolutely pops up. So I actually don't have Alanis in, but I don't have her nominated, but it's an interesting one because she was 1996.
Yeah, no, she totally was.
She owned that year.
She was,
but it's only her second year of eligibility, I think. And
I think so.
I'd be surprised, but not shocked if she was one of the people.
Oh, I forgot to mention the other one I thought of in this category would have been PJ Harvey, but I didn't go that route.
Yeah, I love PJ Harvey, but it's hard for me. Again, though, the replacements got nominated. Maybe PJ Harvey gets nominated at some point. I just have trouble. Well, there are just too many. They look at male bands like individual bands, but look at women like female bands. Do you know what I mean? Or female artists. And it's almost like they have a quota every single time. And to be honest, the voting public does a terrible job at putting the ones in once they get them there. I mean, there's no reason Donna Summer had to be dead before she got in.
Right.
But I have other women, but I do not have Alanis. Janet's the youngest one I have at the moment.
Okay.
Although Sarah McLachlan is a very interesting option.
Yeah, the only thing with Sarah is every time I look at her, it's like, I get it. There's some dogs in need or whatever, but come on.
Well, yes, I understand that, but I'm thinking more along the lines of Lilith Fair, particularly in the Me Too movement era. She and Melissa Etheridge and those
Did you
ladies
pick Sarah?
Founding Lilith Fair, which was just the concert just for women, may at some point have some pull. Plus, my wife kind of looks like Sarah McLachlan. So, I think that Sarah McLachlan is interesting. I don't have her yet either. But there are a few of the I guess younger women. They're all our age and older who are coming up, but I don't think it's their turn yet because there are too many other women they've ignored for too long. They have to get through.
At least you can reference your wife. My wife's a curvy Asian. There's no one I can reference here for this. I got nothing about that. Yeah. And she's going to listen to that, but hopefully it'll be okay.
She's a lovely lady. I've seen your pictures on Facebook.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. And vice versa. Actually, funny you bring up the replacements. That's my late 80s selection. I honestly, and I'd love your take on this. Personally, like back in those days, I was a bigger fan of Husker Du.
Okay.
So, like, I would rather see them go in rather than the replacements, who might like.
But the replacements are nominated already.
Right, and I could. That's sort of my my late '80s indie pick for this because again, like, if they do, if they don't, I don't know, but that's sort of like that was sort of like my last dart at the board. Although I've got a few more to go, but that was the last one I sort of like came through when I was putting this together.
Okay, I do not have the replacements. There was a basic shock when they got nominated. Not that, again, it was like Bad Brains level shock that, oh my God, they are good, but they're a little bit too, I don't want to say they're too underground, but they weren't as well known enough for people to be like, were the replacements really a rock and roll Hall of Fame band? It's kind of like the feeling that Tim Raines had when he got nominated. Like, if you were from Montreal or like cared about the East Coast baseball at that time, Tim Raines was amazing. But if you're in like San Francisco and never saw the dude, you're like, yeah, he sometimes called himself rock at one point, and he was on a few All-Star teams. You didn't like, there was the people who really cared about Tim Raines and eventually pushed him in. There isn't a process like that, unfortunately, for the Rock Hall that like push the replacements the same way. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I'll segue here. You take away, if Ricky Henderson doesn't exist, Tim Raines doesn't have to wait 10 years.
I absolutely agree. And I absolutely agree. And Ricky Henderson's another person I'm surprised realized there's a Hall of Fame. Mainly because he forgot he played with John Olerud at one point.
Oh, so, I'm a Jays fan. I know that story.
He got back with the Red Sox when Olerud was there, and Olerud, remember, used to wear his batting helmet at all times.
Yes.
And Ricky Henderson was like, "Hey, I used to play with a guy who always wore a batting helmet," and it was John Olerud. So, yeah, he just completely forgot he had played with him for 6 years or whatever at one point.
Gotta love him. All right, so I got a few more left here. I've got what I call.
Go for it.
I've got two more here. One's metal, one's sort of proto-punk. The metal, and I was so happy they got nominated last year, and I hope they get nominated again. Judas Priest.
Judas Priest should be nominated until they're in, and they probably should still be nominated after they're in. They are, in my opinion, the best band on the outside looking in my opinion.
Ooh. That's bold.
Yeah, it is pretty bold, I know, but Judas Priest absolutely 100% deserves it. I felt when they finally got to Deep Purple, I said Deep Purple's that type of band now that they found them, they just can keep nominating them until they're in.
Yeah.
And it took, they got nominated in 13 and 14, and then finally they missed a year and got nominated and got in the third time they were there. Mm-hmm. I feel like that we're talking the same thing for Judas Priest. Priest is going to get nominated. Got nominated last year, first time they get nominated again this year. If they don't get in, it wouldn't surprise me. They had a year off. And then they get in 2021 or whatever that is. Okay. They should be nominated every year. They deserve to be nominated every year, and I think they will be this year.
Great.
So
okay, and then
they're also doing really well on the poll at the Rock Hall right now too.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've seen that. They have at the actual Rock Hall, you could vote for who you think you should be in. The most surprising name weighing towards the top of that is Stevie Nicks on her own.
Wow.
Which I thought was interesting. But yeah, I think they're like second or third on the list right now for getting in for Judas Priest, for people that everybody wants in. So
I am this close to doing my Jack Black Stevie Nicks thing, just like a white-winged dove. When he's approaching oh God. God, I can see her face. From School of Rock, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, and I'm terrible with actresses' names, so I can't tell you what her name is.
Yeah, but yeah, she's oh God, well, it doesn't matter. I'll remember it right after. So I got 4 left. So my proto-punk one is MC5, who I think they might be Like I think with my Judas Priest, the best band not in, with the exception of Kraftwerk.
Okay, no, well, yeah, I have MC5 as well.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, MC5 was up last year. It was their third time, and been up in a while, but there seemed to be quite a bit of momentum. Well, I guess they were up in 2 years before. Their first nomination was a long time ago. But there seems to be some support behind them, and it would not surprise me to see them again. So yeah, I have MC5 as well.
Okay, so here's my few left. I have a feeling you're gonna say this one too, and I'm considering this one where they just waited, I think, a year enough to where they can get away with it. Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, it helps when Tom Morello is on the nominating committee for that.
Exactly. That's why I think they had to wait a year.
Well, they were nominated last year, and in Tom Morello's defense, he did basically the first year they're not eligible was 2017, and he refused to allow them to be nominated his first year that he was on the thing. So he went with Jane's Addiction. Jane's Addiction was his choice at first year.
Which is like I think the
Rage
early
is going to be on there
bit.
again as well. It's going to be interesting if both Rage and the Roots are eligible for the first time this year on there. Now that Tom Morello and Questlove are on the nominating committee, you got to be like, okay, dudes, can we at least spread it out a little bit? So, I mean, the Roots probably on a certain level are worthy, at least musically, but most people now just think of them as Jimmy Fallon's house band, unfortunately.
I know, right?
I know it's a terrible way to say that, but there are too many people who probably just know the Roots from Jimmy Fallon.
No, I agree. I think you're 100% right. Like, there are people in a cross generation that might think of the Roots the same way they think of Doc Severinsen.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I never actually thought of it that way, but yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with that. I think Rage got nominated last year. Rage will get nominated again. I think they're like the how do I want to say this? The 50th or 60th best band on the outside looking in, but they got a guy, as they say in here in Chicago, for anything you ask somebody. They got a guy on the inside, and I think that whether or not I don't think Tom Morello is the one who's doing the nominating, but I think someone's going to keep nominating Rage Against the Machine until.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we said at the original couple minutes. It's not who we want; it's who we think.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so
I think Rage is one of them.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got that one as the same. Sticking with the 90s, I've got two more left. One who I think he won a Grammy recently or some award that Kanye interrupted. Beck.
Yeah, Beck's the first time eligible, and Beck is going to get nominated. Beck is going to get in.
Yeah. Oh, so you have him too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the bands eligible for the first time this year, and I'll go through them. I guess when my the rest of my stuff comes up, Beck is my number one. You know, I'm doing on Facebook the top 30 bands that are eligible,
which is awesome. By the way.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I'm not to give it away because we're at number 24. 23 tomorrow is AFI, in case you're wondering. But Beck is my number one.
I was wondering that as much as when you were looking forward to my Florida Panthers top 50.
Yeah, it's like Scott Mellenby, and the Rats that got thrown when Scott Mellenby scored a goal. So those are the top four. I have to
work with what I have. All right, I got one left, and that's my hip hop nominee, the Wu-Tang Clan. Yeah,
I think Wu-Tang Clan's number 2 on my list of bands eligible this year.
So you have them
for the first time. I am torn because Wu-Tang Clan should be the nominee from this thing, but also eligible for the first time this year are Snoop and Dr. Dre. And the nominating committee loves LL Cool J, probably for his work on NCIS Los Angeles. But, because that's where most of those guys know him from. I swear to you that's true.
You're probably right.
But I would love for Wu-Tang Clan to be the nominee. I really, really hope they are, but I don't think so. As long as LL Cool J is there, I think they're going to put LL Cool J up, and I don't think they're going to go with a second rap group. But yeah, if it were me, it would be Wu-Tang Clan, it would be Snoop, and it'd be Dre. It'd be all three. No offense to LL. But it's not up to me.
I'd rank that the same way. I mean, like when LL Cool J, and again, no disrespect to him, when he was a rap nominee, I thought, okay, like you're not number one in that genre, and you're still not.
Right. Yeah. So, he seems like a nice guy. He's got a lot of talent, but there's just so many other important people. Again, we're two middle-aged white guys talking about this, right? But there's just so many more important people to me than LL who should be up, and I have LL over Wu-Tang just because they're going to keep nominating him, I think, over and over until he gets in. And they're going to be a push for him this year because Notorious B.I.G. is up next year and a few others. And so I think it's LL, but yeah, I fully appreciate Wu-Tang, and I really hope they are a nominee this year. If they put it this way, if they are a nominee, they're getting it.
Okay, all right.
If it's LL and Wu-Tang, then Wu-Tang Clan's getting it.
Well, I hope so. Well, so I've used up all mine. So who have I not overlapped that you have?
So I think we overlapped on Radiohead, Doobie Brothers, Chaka Khan, The Spinners, Kraftwerk, New Order, Janet Jackson, Judas Priest, MC5, Rage Against the Machine, and Beck, right?
Yeah. So this is where the bets sort of coming. That Yingling, Ling Ling is right. This is where it's coming up.
Yeah, right, exactly. So my different ones I've given so far are Graham Parsons, The Cure, and LL Cool J's. I think it's the only ones different I've given out so far.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm just looking at the patterns that they have here with the people they're nominating. So they, in the last couple of years, have decided they're going to remember that women existed in the 1960s.
Okay.
So 2 years ago, out of nowhere, they nominated Joan Baez, and Joan Baez got right in. Right?
Yep.
Last year it was Nina Simone, who I have been in love with ever since I first saw the new version of the Thomas Crown Affair. That last scene. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No,
with all the guys in bowler
I haven't.
hats.
As long as we're not talking about the Zoe Saldana attempt at covering that, but yeah.
So Sinner Man is the song during that scene, and I love that scene so much. I'm like, what is this song? And that's where I discovered Nina Simone. So I'm very excited about that. So the question is, what older women are they going to look at? I looked at Leslie Gore. I looked at Nancy Sinatra. Looked at Mary Wells. There are a whole bunch of them from back there. Even if you want to go Tanya Tucker, Tammy Wynette, some of the more country people, Dolly Parton was someone. But honestly, looking at everybody, there comes down to two, and I actually couldn't decide between the two of them. So to hedge my bets, I picked both.
Okay.
So the first one is Carole King.
I like that. Yeah, I love it.
So Carole King was nominated a long time ago, and she got in sort of as like a contributor as like a songwriter. I can't remember. They put her in some weird way, but she was nominated once back in 1989. And that's the only time she's been nominated. And that is an absolute and utter travesty. She 100% should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And as long as they're looking that far back, it's hard for me to imagine a better candidate than Carole King.
I love it. Love it.
The other woman who from back then, because I do have to say, I have one complaint about. I have many complaints for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I was going to say, you don't have one.
Yeah, I have many. But we found a way to get all four Beatles into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They found a way to get Ringo Starr in last year. I say five because Paul McCartney is in with the Beatles, and then the Paul McCartney, the one who replaced the original Paul McCartney, is in on his own. But they have Ike and Tina Turner in without Tina Turner being in on her own, which is ridiculous because Tina Turner on her own is a far superior artist to Ike and Tina together. Yeah. They have Diana Ross in with the Supremes and not in on her own, which is also ridiculous. Diana Ross on her own is probably the greatest single artist who's not in there. but both of those guys or ladies are already in some form. Okay.
Yeah.
So the greatest artist who's been part of more things and everybody probably thinks is in and isn't, who I'm going to have her nominated this year as the other option, is Patti LaBelle.
Ooh. Oh.
Okay. Patti LaBelle has not, if you just said Patti LaBelle, you would presume she's been in since the beginning of the Rock Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no basis for this. Like I said, I'm hedging my bets between Carole King and Patti LaBelle on this. They're going to find a woman from back there somewhere, and whoever they're nominating is getting in. And so I'm splitting it between the two of them, because Patti LaBelle should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at some point here, and she's got to be like 80 at this point. So how much longer are you going to wait?
That doesn't usually matter to them or at any hall for that matter.
Ask Ron Santo about that. That is true. But anyway, another band I have actually is returning from last year that we haven't brought up yet. They actually finished, apparently, from everything I've heard, 7th in last year's ballot, which means they're probably going to be back again, is the Eurythmics.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So the Eurythmics were a bit of a surprise to me when they got nominated. They're big into the late 70s, early 80s transition out of disco and in through new wave and techno and everything else. And Annie Lennox can absolutely do nothing wrong. But I was surprised they were there. And then I was more surprised when I found out they actually allegedly finished 7th on that list of 20 last year. So since they had done so well, I just feel like they're going to be back. And if they are back, if they finished 7th last year, it would not surprise me if they got in this year if they are on the list.
Yeah, I like that one too.
So I have the Eurythmics. Let's see who else. I'm trying to remember my own thing. Okay, another '60s band going back. They haven't used yet, and this is probably again a want to have rather than an actual likely getting in. So they've had the Zombies 3 times at this point. There aren't that many of the British invasion bands left. I mean, you could go Herman's, I guess, if you wanted to. So when I was a kid, there were all sorts of songs I loved, and I had no idea who sung them. And then eventually I realized when I got the internet that they're all the same band. And that band is the Grassroots.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one too.
The long cool woman in a black dress on a carousel, bus stop, like they have a solid string.
You mean the Hollies?
Of hits. Oh, did I say the Hollies? I'm sorry, I have the Hollies and the Grassroots mixed up. My goodness, I apologize. No, the Grassroots are still. You're right. I have the Hollies in my. God damn! I can't. Can you please cut that part? We'll go back to the Grassroots. I'm sorry. The Grassroots are the band that I was thinking about. They're the pop rock, folk rock, sort of psychedelic combination there. And they are 100%. They're 100% a band that should have been thought of at some point, and they haven't as of yet. Can't believe I covered the wrongs. Yeah, so I mean, let's live for today. Midnight Confessions.
Oh, I love that.
I'd Wait a Million Years. Redemption Eyes. Temptation Eyes. Temptation. There's just so many of those hits that just have been. They're there and they've been forgotten. And that's a band that I have out there.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the Grassroots. I have another band that's been nominated a couple times. They were not nominated last year, but I think it's time. And maybe the problem they have is that Rage Against the Machine is out there, and I guess they're not really a band; it's one guy. But Nine Inch Nails.
Yes.
I had them left off too. One who they got nominated 2 years in a row, and then we haven't seen them.
Mm-hmm.
So Nine Inch Nails is they're the creators in many ways of industrial rock, right? And again, it's just Trent Reznor, but
right.
just the idea that they are behind. They're basically, if you created a genre and it's a big enough genre, they're going to remember you. Again, I really think Kraftwerk should be in first.
Mm-hmm.
But Nine Inch Nails is another band I think they're going to come back to. at this point. So that Nine Inch Nails is, I guess, my 19th nominee here, and I have one more. Just by the way, I just want to quickly go through some of the bands that are not eligible for the first year we haven't talked about. We talked about Beck, Wu-Tang Clan, The Roots.
Yep.
Bjork is up this year for the first time.
Yep.
Tony Braxton, Shania Twain, Sheryl Crow, Snoop Dogg, The Counting Crows, who I can never imagine getting in, but we're awesome anyway.
Unless the cast of Friends gets to vote.
Wouldn't they just vote for the Bodines?
Well done.
The Bodines. Yeah. Was it Bodines or was it the Rembrandts who sang their song? I can't remember anymore.
Oh, no, sorry, you're right. Yeah, the Rembrandts. Which, if you go to notinhallofame.com, you'll see that's one of the worst songs of all time.
Which one?
I'll be there for you. Clap, 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 clap.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, there's comedian Rob Paravonian. I don't know if you know who he is.
No.
But he has a whole thing about how that song was written as a theme song, and then they realized they had to make an actual song when it's popular on the radio. And they're like, the first line is, nobody told you life is going to be that way. And later it says, your mother told you to be days like these. He's like, they forgot what they wrote. They forgot the first line of the song. It's like, work began at, your son bed at 10, work began at 8. You burned your breakfast, so far things are going great. And they're like, how many people are 2 hours late for work and take out their skillet to burn a breakfast? So there's a whole thing about how that song is completely screwed up. But anyway, they are not getting in. We don't have to worry about that.
Oh, why digress?
Kenny Chesney, Liz Phair, Mark Anthony, Everclear, Faith Hill, Collect the Soul, Coolio, Blackstreet, Frank Black, speaking of the Pixies from like an hour ago.
Yeah.
So those are all great. But again, I think Beck and maybe Wu-Tang Clan are the only two we're going to see for the first time. So anyway, I just want to go through that because it's important to know who's up for the first time.
Absolutely.
And I'm doing the whole list anyway, so I might as well go through it. The last one that I have is, I guess, my stick to the wall band who they've thrown up a bunch of times that hasn't happened yet, and I hope it happens at some point. And that's the Meters.
Ooh. Interesting.
So the Meters have been up 4 times already. They were up last year. The time before that, I'm trying to look here, they're up in 2013. They're up in 2014. So 2013, 2014, and there's one way back. So the Meters are another band that seem to have a lot of support on the...
they do.
Yeah, they seem to have a lot of support within the group. Yeah, hold on. They were first nominated in 1997.
How many times overall, Evan?
Yeah, so by the way, the only 2 bands from 97 who aren't in, who were nominated, were the Meters and your Dominoes.
Interesting. Okay.
So, the Meters, I think, are the last band. They've gotten twice in a row now. I think they're probably going to come up again. I'm not sure who their friend is on the committee, but they have one. And that's really all you need.
Yeah.
So I have the Meters as my 20th. So going through, I guess, the list that I have here in the order I took them out: Radiohead, Doobie Brothers, Graham Parsons, Chaka Khan, The Spinners, Kraftwerk, New Order, The Cure, Janet Jackson, Judas Priest, MC5, Rage Against the Machine, Beck, LL Cool J, Carole King, Patti LaBelle, The Eurythmics, Grassroots, Nine Inch Nails, and the Meters.
No, they're all good. Yeah, they're all good. Yeah, so just, I guess, going back to the ones I've got here, what do I got? Radiohead, Dominoes, Link Ray, Turtles, Sir Douglas Quintet, Doobie Brothers, Jay Giles, Joe Tex, Chaka Khan in some capacity, Spinners, Kraftwerk, New Order, Janet Jackson, Alanis, Judas Priest, MC5, Rage, Beck, Wu-Tang Replacements.
Yeah, all of our choices are good. It's very hard to choose badly with the number of acts out there, and I'm sure they're going to be like 3 acts. We're going to be like, really? Those guys?
Totally.
Yeah, as honestly as it's not Styx, I don't care. Because Styx sucks.
Wow. What do you have against Styx?
I'm in Chicago. I'm in Chicago. I know that's like blasphemy out here.
Yeah, okay, but like, I'm not. Like, what do you know about Styx that I don't know?
I just have never liked anything they've done except for there's that one song. I can't remember the name of it, where they are basically, it's like a cowboy type of song. That one is pretty good, and the rest of them, Mr. Roboto, Come Sail Away. No, I'm done with Styx. So, yeah. Although I would gladly put Styx in if it meant we could take Randy Newman out. So. Randy Newman has sung the same song over and over and over again for 40 years.
Well, so was AC/DC.
Yeah, but AC/DC is awesome.
That's true.
Randy Newman's songs are better when they were sung by Will Sasso in Mad TV. Will Sasso's version of Randy Newman in Mad TV was a work of comedic genius, in particularly since because his voice making fun of Randy Newman was better than anything Randy Newman has ever been able to sing.
Well, I can't disagree. I'm not exactly a fan of Randy Newman, which makes me one of many. I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah, there are a lot of people, but I mean, basically he's been singing the Toy Story song, with the exception of Short People, which is its own weird thing anyway, weird novelty song. But outside of Short People, he's been singing the same basic theme song to Toy Story for 40 years. So
all right, so we're here there. So what's the worst Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee to you?
I mean, I think I just hit it. Okay. Outside of him, I have trouble with both the faces and the small faces being in. Okay. I also have trouble with Darlene Love.
Yes.
Not because she is not an incredible singer, because she's in her mid-70s and is still ridiculously good. But I feel like Randy Newman got in basically because he sings "I Love L.A." all the time on was it Night Show? Some show he used to go on and sing "I Love L.A." Mm-hmm. Darlene Love got in from her Christmas song she used to sing on Letterman.
One hell of a Christmas song, but
every single year. It's her only hit as a solo artist. Is her Christmas song that she sings every year. Like, it's a great Christmas song, don't get me wrong, but I mean, Burl Ives shouldn't be getting in for Frosty the Snowman. Darlene Love is an incredible talent. She seems like an absolutely awesome person, but compared to, I'm doing the same thing the Rock Hall does, compared to some of the other women who are waiting on the outside, the idea that Darlene Love is in, and Patti LaBelle isn't, and Carole King, and Carly Simon, and Pat Benatar, and Cher, mm-hmm. and Cher's not in any capacity either, but they all hate her for some reason. Cher's not in with Sonny and Cher. She's not in on her own. Like,
who would you put Cher in first, though, as a solo or with Sonny?
I think her solo career has outdistanced her career with Sonny.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But that doesn't mean that's how they would vote her in, if they ever did. But I mean, Cher, she's been so outspoken about stuff. The only person who's been more outspoken about not being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame probably than her is like the B-52s, and they have no business being there.
Ouch.
Well, the B-52s are a very good band who sang a lot of novelty songs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Maybe because I have the same singing voice as Fred Schneider. I'm a little hurt, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, he's the one who's been very, very on the offensive that there's no reason the B-52s aren't in. And I feel like there's about 150, and those are the other bands that should be for them.
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love B-52s. I love listening to, Rock Lobster, My Own Private Idaho, all that stuff once every 2 to 3 years. And that's, I mean, Love Shack's its own separate thing. Love Shack's in the pantheons of songs that should be inducted on their own. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so yeah, I'd say those are probably up there. I mean, the other one that everyone gets mad at is I've forgotten his name, Percy Sledge.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people get mad at because he just had the When a Man Loves a Woman pretty much.
Which right.
I mean, he had a few more songs, but everyone always just thinks of him as a one-hit wonder. I'm not as upset about Percy Sledge being in because of his other stuff. That's when I know that comes up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So how about you?
No, actually, Percy is my number one. Like, he never should have been in, at least not this soon anyway.
Right. Well, again, there are a lot of people who are more talented and have had better careers than Percy Sledge. Agreed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's your number one. My bigger thing is I have trouble understanding how, like, I brought Barry White up a while ago. Like, if you ask two people who was in between Barry White and Isaac Hayes, like 90% of people would say that Barry White was in and Isaac Hayes wasn't, right? Not that Isaac Hayes does not deserve to be in there, because he absolutely does. But once you have Isaac Hayes, how do you not have Barry White?
No, that's an excellent point, for sure.
Yeah, there's like a few of those. Like, I don't understand how, if this one is in, how is this one not in?
Mm-hmm.
And Barry White is one that I've picked him so many times to be in, because it's got to happen at some point, and it just hasn't. So anyway, we're probably coming up on, like, what, an hour and a half at this point?
Yeah, almost. So what I'd love to do is once they figure out who gets, like, who's nominated, let's like figure out from there those nominations which ones are going to go through. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Also, too,
sounds good to me.
We have to do a hockey one, because, like, we've already been debating online on.
Yes,
like,
your lack of love for Pierre Turgeon is troubling to me.
How very Star Wars of you to say that.
Yeah, your lack of faith in the star of some very mediocre New York Islanders teams is very upsetting to me.
That's you being American and me being Canadian.
Yeah, I'm going for the Canadian guy. I mean, come on, Pierre. There are zero Americans named Pierre outside of Louisiana, so you got it's Canadian,
that might be true. I don't know. Love it. All right. Well, thanks so much for being here, and I can't wait till we do this again.
Me. This is my first podcast too. So,
I can't think of anyone who should have been here first. So, thanks so much again. And I think we should do a shout out for someone we used to do a bit of writing with, and still, hopefully, he will again. Our friend in California.
Yes, he had some of the absolute best rundowns. He has an interesting way of doing the rundowns for his Rock Hall nominees every year. I always enjoyed that.
Yeah, and we didn't ask. Well, again, and he brought up pretty much a good point. Sort of like when a lot of people will say, like, "Hey, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a joke because such and such isn't in it," and he's just had enough. And that's Daryl. Daryl's done some great pieces for us, and oh my god, every time he writes something, I feel like 100 IQ points dumber.
He's an incredible writer.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
yes.
tell him he should start writing stuff again.
No, and he has for like for some things on baseball, and it's been fantastic. But like, and for those who are listening here, just take a look at there. He's got his own section, DDT's Pop Flies. It's worth it because he writes better than anyone you'll ever read.
He definitely writes better than I do.
And all myself included. Anyways, Evan, it was great to have you here, and thanks so much, man.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll talk to you later.
All right, take care.
Bye.